Hey, welcome everybody. Good evening. Welcome to my channel, Life and Crypto. If this happens to be your first time here, please do hit that like button and make sure that you smash that subscribe button. And also hit the get notifications bell so that way you do also get notified as I upload a video here on this channel. I also have my original channel, which is Crypto T, but there I pretty much talk all about cryptocurrency. Here I will dabble in some cryptocurrency news, but this is more about life, current events that's going on around the globe, and I want to share it with a lot of you guys. And I know this is a brand new channel, so please do support a brother and help this channel grow. I would definitely greatly appreciate that. But I wanted to bring this to you, to your attention, because I think that a lot of us knew that this was coming. So Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, he gives the U.S. diplomats 72 hours to leave after Trump recognizes opposition leader Guaido. Now, Florida Senator Rick Scott says that Venezuela should be designated a terrorist state. The people out there are rebellion. I believe there have been 13 who have been killed so far. So, of course, in Caracas, by way of the Associated Press, the latest on nationwide protests in Venezuela, all times local. So at 4:35 p.m., a U.S. Senator from Florida is calling for designating Venezuela a terrorist state, end quote, and imposing additional sanctions in order to pressure President Nicolas Maduro to resign. Now, we know that he can resign, but he will still be in charge of the military. Okay, so Senator Rick Scott, the junior senator from Florida, told reporters in Washington on Wednesday that Maduro, in quote, is clearly a terrorist, end quote. Scott also added, the way, in quote, the way Maduro has treated his citizens is disgusting, end quote. Scott also urged U.S. President Donald Trump to, in quote, look at every sanction he can have, end quote, and impose penalties on anybody doing business with or supporting Maduro. Scott said he expects that opposition leader Juan Guaido, who has declared himself interim president, will call elections, end quote, as quickly as possible, end quote. Florida is home of tens of thousands of Venezuelans who have fled the chaos in their country in recent years. Now at 4:30 p.m. local time, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is giving American diplomats 72 hours to abandon the country after breaking diplomatic relations with the U.S. over its decision to recognize an opposition leader as interim president. Now, in quote, it says here, before the people and nations of the world has a constitutional president, I've decided to break diplomatic and political relations with the imperialist U.S. government. Maduro told a crowd of red-shirted supporters gathered at the presidential palace. So he pretty much said this to his crowd because, of course, he still has some support there. He has pretty much brainwashed a lot of the people there as well. But you can tell that way more of the people have been suffering because he pretty much broke down the economy. Socialism does not work. So when I read this earlier, I was just thinking about Alexandria Ocasio, and that could be a little extreme, but her ideas are a bit radical as well. Okay, if you listen to the things that she had said over the weekend and on Monday night, well, I don't watch that guy that she was on. I really don't watch any TV like that, but you get to see a lot of the information on Twitter, and it's just amazing some of the things that she says. Like the world is going to end in 12 years, how that people who become billionaires shouldn't be having a helipad and yada yada. Look, this is a capitalist country. This is not the Soviet Union. Okay, so says here that he made the announcement following a tumultuous day that saw Juan Guaido, the head of the opposition-controlled Congress, declare himself interim president and cause elections. The move was immediately backed by the Trump administration, which said it was willing to use all its economic and diplomatic power to restore Venezuela's democracy. Maduro said in his speech, the U.S. was making a, end quote, grave mistake, end quote, by trying to impose a president on Venezuela and rattled off a long list of countries: Guatemala, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina, that saw leftist governments toppled or come under military rule during the Cold War with U.S. support. Now at 4:15 p.m. local time, U.S. President Donald Trump has been asked whether the U.S. would use military action in Venezuela to support the ouster of President Nicolas Maduro, and his response was ambiguous. Now in quote it says, "We are not considering anything, but all options are on the table," end quote. Trump told reporters following a roundtable discussion at the White House on medical costs. The comment came after his administration announced it would recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president over Maduro. Trump did not clarify what he meant by, end quote, all options, end quote. His administration has imposed several rounds of sanctions aimed at pressuring the government of the South American country. Now at 4:05 p.m., the head of the Organization of American States says that the 2-year process initiated by Venezuela to leave the organization was interrupted after opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself president of the South American nation. Now, Luis Almagro said Wednesday, end quote, "Obviously the clock is stopped from today," end quote. Guaido presides over the opposition-controlled National Assembly, which adopted a document Tuesday expressing its intention to remain in the OAS and appoint ex-legislator Gustavo Tarek Brasino as special representative. Guaido declared himself interim president on Wednesday before thousands of demonstrators cheering in support. The people must be tired of Maduro. I mean, who wouldn't? He pretty much destroyed the economy. Socialism does not work, guys. Now, the government of President Nicolas Maduro began the process to leave the entity in April 2017, alleging that Almagro exceeded his duties by criticizing a member state. The Supreme Court in Venezuela has declared documents issued by the National Assembly null and void. The Venezuelan mission to the OAS did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Associated Press. Now at 3:50 p.m., Venezuelans are holding rallies across Spain against the government of Nicolas Maduro and in support of an opposition leader who has declared himself interim president of the country. The rallies were staged in many provincial capitals with major protests in Tenerife, Barcelona, and Madrid. They were timed to coincide with marches in the streets of Venezuela. Organizers said that around 7,000 protesters gathered in the central square of the Spanish capital where there is a large Venezuelan community. The protesters cheered when exiled members of the Venezuelan opposition announced that the U.S. government has recognized the interim leadership of Juan Guaido. They called on Spain's Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to follow the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump in endorsing Guaido. Now at 3:35 p.m., Socialist Party boss Diosdado Cabello is calling on government supporters to mobilize in front of Venezuela's presidential palace to protect Nicolas Maduro from what he is calling a U.S.-led conspiracy to remove him from power. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something. They get their hands on this man. You saw what happened with Gaddafi. I'm going to say it. Chances are he will get a beating and they will beat him to death. Okay, I just don't see it no other way. Now, that could be a little too extreme, but the people over there have had it. Now, the Bolivian revolution doesn't have an expiration date. He told a crowd of red-shirted supporters at a rally in downtown Caracas. So you can see what he's talking about here, what he's actually implementing in their mindsets. We are going to stay in the streets and stay in battle for now and forever, Cabello said, making the government's first reaction to opposition leader Juan Guaido's decision to declare himself interim president. Supporters responded with shouts of, in quote, "They will not return," end quote, a popular refrain used by the government to denounce the elite politicians who governed Venezuela before Hugo Chavez's revolution in 1999. Now, the pro-government march attracted thousands, but was far smaller than the crosstown opposition march, where Guaido said he would temporarily take over as president and call elections. The Trump administration immediately backed Guaido's declaration. Now, at 3:30, it says that the three South American nations are recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president. The leaders of Brazil, Colombia, and Paraguay all quickly expressed their support after Guaido took a symbolic oath before thousands of supporters. I gotta say, this man has a lot of cojones. Colombia President Ivan Duque said his nation would accompany Guaido in the process of transition towards democracy. So the Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro also said that he would support the 35-year-old lawmaker so that peace and democracy return to Venezuela. Paraguayan President Mario Abdo Benitez said on Twitter that his country supported Venezuela's interim president Juan Guaido. Count on us to embrace freedom and democracy again, Benitez said. Guaido said that it is his right under Venezuela's constitution to take over the presidency until new elections can be called. This is very interesting, and you know it's very heating out there, guys. It's definitely very, things are just so heated out there. So the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was sworn into a contested second term 2 weeks ago in a move condemned by dozens of nations. Canada says it's recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as the interim president as well, and two officials familiar with the matter confirmed the Canadian position, but spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. So with that said, guys, you guys can continue reading this. I'm going to leave you guys the link down below. Again, this is Life and Crypto. Make sure that you guys do subscribe to my channel. Hit that like button if you did like this video, and make sure you hit that get notifications bell. And some interesting times we're living in, my friends. Many blessings to each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Stay blessed.